Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. This is episode 399. That's one less than 400 for you math whizzes out there. This is Detroit Lions race to free agency. We got a lot to talk about. It's the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my gorgeous, never aging co-host, Jeff, the Riz Risdon. How you doing, gorgeous?
It is good to be back with you in person this week after I had to call in last week. It's nice to be back and have my face on the screen. I like that.
Yes,
nothing against Andy and his incredible picture, but
I've been busy all week because of that.
it's nice to be back.
Yes,
great. Thank you, Andy, by the way, for subbing for me last week. You did a great job. I actually went back and listened to the show. As Chris knows, I do not listen to podcasts that I'm on. I just get weirded out by that. I don't listen to my radio spots either. And so for me to listen to the show when I do a call in is rare. And I did last week and it was very good. So
y'all did a good show. Would you listen normally?
I would. I absolutely would.
There you go. Hey, Flounder, any chance Andy's considering a spring bikini shoot? We'll get on that. That would be. Oh,
yeah.
How you doing, right? We got a lot to talk about. A lot going on this week. And Riz, I talked to you before the show. I'm leaning on you. This has been the week from HE double hockey sticks for me at work. OMG. I literally found out today at 3 o'clock that Monday I'm going to be on a flight up to Philly to one of our sites for this massive summit to do a bunch of work. And I'm just like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, yeah. We'll talk more about that. We got a lot to talk about. We got free agency coming. We've got, restricted free agent stuff. We've got that we signed somebody back, that wide receiver position. That's so important. Quarterbacks are going crazy all over the place. We got Scott Bischoff from Woodward Sports joining us. We have an awesome show lined up. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Ooh, baby. All right, we'll get right into it here. This is absolutely crazy. Love you guys in the chat. Thank you. We'll get more of your chats up on the screen here quickly. Next week, as I was alluding to, is absolutely nuts. I've been trying to put together reservations through the corporate stuff. Get my planes, try to get a seat that's not bad, hoping for the upgrade, the whole thing. So anyway, I'm flying out Monday. I don't fly back till Friday. I am nuts to the wall every day. Of course, on the 16th, we're morning to night, first thing, butt crack of dawn through the end of the day. And then it's like, hey, let's do a dinner with it. So I'm going to be gone till 9 p.m. on the most important day of free agency.
That is the day that free agents can officially sign as of 4 p.m. Now, I'll ease your pain a little bit, Chris. I don't think the Lions are signing anybody next Wednesday, but we're going to hear some things anyways about what's going on. There will be some interesting players moving. There will potentially be a couple of Lions who were on the Lions in 2021 who are signing somewhere else. We will see.
Yes. Okay, so there's a lot going to happen. There will be a lot happening, and whether it's the Lions doing it or somebody else, it'll affect the Lions along the way.
It will.
We'll talk about it. We'll get on that. Don't worry. So what are we going to do? We're not going to not cover it, right? I mean, come on. So here's the deal. You do a corporate dinner, what happens? You wind up drinking a little bit. So I will definitely be catching up on the news throughout the day, and then I'll probably do a video and upload it to YouTube Wednesday night in whatever state I'm in at that point. I know Riz has talked about, we're trying Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to get some YouTube videos, no live streams, but some good videos up for you guys about the news, what's happening, who's doing what it means for the Lions. So we'll have that going on for you. And then, and Colin, you haven't heard it yet, but we're going to ask you to do some too if you can. And then on Saturday, beautiful Saturday, Riz and I will do a makeup show because we can't let you go a week without these gorgeous faces. That's
for sure. Yeah, we will do a makeup show. I will be live on location in Indianapolis. My daughter is playing in a basketball tournament there. It's her last one of the season. I can't miss it. But I will have a lot of time in between games and around games, so we'll have fun with that. So we don't know. We probably won't know until Friday when I will be available to do it. So stay attention. Make sure you're subscribed to everything so you know when we're going to be on air, because we won't know until It's not going to be a normal scheduled time. This is the long and the short of it.
Yeah, just subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Twitter. You can watch us on Twitter. That's a good way. At Jeff Risdon and at DET Lions Podcast. We'll try to communicate the best we can. We would give you a call directly if we had your number, but here we are. You guys.
You really don't want us to have your phone number. That's just probably better that way.
All right, so Detroit fan man. Sorry, I didn't mean that. That was I misread that. I'm a jerk. My bad. Detroit fan man. Looking at the Wentz deal makes me feel like Goff wasn't truly on the market. 100%. I don't think Goff was ever on the market. I don't think Goff would ever have been referred to as being on the market. It's just not a thing. He's too good.
That was a fabrication by somebody with too much time on their hands on the toilet.
Yeah. Ooh. Or wherever. Yeah. Allen Robinson to the D. I'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we will talk
There's
about
something
that.
to that I've started to. You know how it is. Me.
I think Allen Robinson wants Detroit more than Detroit wants to pay Allen Robinson.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
We will.
We'll talk about that. Okay.
A lot going on with pre-agency. A lot of stuff going on.
Yes. But so we got that. We will Saturday have a podcast for you, so don't miss out. Just giving you guys doing some housekeeping at the head of the show here as we get started. And I apologize. I mean, I wanted really, really, really to do the Wednesday show with all the action. It's always so fun, but as much as your super chats are helping the show and the Patreon and all that is great. The other job
you're not giving up the day job just yet, are you?
No. The other job pays for the podcast, really. Okay, let's talk about what's going on. And Riz, welcome back. Good to have you back. As much as I love Andy to death, right? And I love having him on the show.
Absolutely.
It's just you have a groove. You know what I mean?
It's different. It's different.
Yeah. I couldn't not look at his picture. I couldn't. It was just like, all right, let's get talking about the Lions' most recent signing, Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds joins the Detroit Lions as a wide receiver. I want to just allude to something because somebody got really uptight on Twitter, and I say this and I don't begrudge them at all, right? About saying that later in the offseason we're going to talk about could Jared Goff have done it in LA? Good question, right? Because it's a good, valid conversation to have, right? Signing Josh Reynolds is part of that conversation because they showed the third down attempt distance, I believe it was. Chart. I'm working from memory here, and look, Goff at the bottom and Stafford at the top, and it's like yeah. And I was like, okay, that tells part of the story. But we've talked about this, and I'm going to go through these numbers really quick again. Riz, Jared Goff needing weapons and having weapons because. We know where Matthew Stafford was before. We didn't get a playoff game. We also know that quarterback wins are not a statistic, right? So Jared Goff, when Cephas or Reynolds played 50% or more snaps. So there was 9 games in which that happened. 70.3.
First 2 in the last 7.
Yep. 70.3 completion rate. 248 yards per game, 2 touchdowns per game, 0.44 interceptions, 104.13 passer rating, and 7.758 air yards per attempt. Okay? Not bad. Without Cephas or Reynolds for 5 games, this was 63% completion rate, only 202 yards a game, 0.2 touchdowns per game, 0.8, double the interceptions per game, a 72.1 passer rating, and less than 5 yards per attempt via the air. Having your weapons matters for any quarterback, but in particular with the level of talent we had in this team for Jared Goff. Josh Reynolds signing is a good one. This is a good, solid safety move for this team.
It absolutely is. And just to clear up a little bit on what the third down thing that you're referencing, it's the percentage of times that you throw to the sticks or beyond on third downs.
Thank you.
And Goff was last in the league before Josh Reynolds arrived. And the last 6 games that Jared Goff played in, he moved up to 16th in the league. That's league average. Yeah. That's considerable improvement. Now, that also coincides with Dan Campbell taking and Ben Johnson taking over the offense and some things changing. DeAndre Swift being out for a good portion of that time. TJ Hockenson being out for that entire time. There's confluences there, but Josh Reynolds certainly helped. And you saw the impact that Josh Reynolds had in, I saw it anyways, in how Goff was more confident in his ability to look down the field and see, hey, I know that guy where he's going to be. I know where he's going to be, there. And you saw how it impacted Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. It gave him more room to operate. And guess what happened? Amon-Ra was one of the best receivers in the league, regardless of status, over the last 5-6 weeks of the season. Josh Reynolds deserves some credit for that. The price tag, $6 million a year for 2 years. We don't know exactly how it's broken down yet. It's not up on the NFLPA's site or SpotTrack or Over the Cap, but it's not a bad deal that you're getting a guy that caught 31 passes in 6 games. That's 5 a game. I'll take that.
Yeah.
You need him. He's not your number one. He's not solving the issues. They still need a number 1 wide receiver. Pending Cephas's health, they still need another outside receiver too.
Still need a number 1. I like Cephas. I think he's a great. He's not your no. If you get a number 1, a real number 1, and spend the money there, it elevates the quality of your whole receiver core. You know what I mean? But if you put someone like Cephas as your number 1, he's a hell of a number 2. And then you have Reynolds is in there as a.
I would say I want Quint. If Quintez Cephas is higher than your number 4 receiver on your roster, you're in trouble. You need help.
Good point.
And Reynolds can be 3. I kind of prefer him as a 4 though. But Amon-Ra can be your 1A or 2, whatever you want to call it. But to get the dude that Ben Johnson told us about in the media session in Indianapolis, where he wants a guy that can stretch the field vertically and be a big target in the red zone. That's what he wants.
And let me really speak.
Let's make that go happen.
And you're right. I'm thinking Amon-Ra. I'm in my mind putting Amon-Ra in the slot. I'm not, and he can play outside and inside, right? But that's why I'm saying I'm not calling him a number 2, right? That's why I'm saying, okay, Cephas or Reynolds is your number 2, your other outside receiver, your number 2 outside receiver.
Gotcha.
And that's probably a mistake on my part because Amon-Ra can switch all around, and I believe if they're smart, and they are smart, Amon-Ra will switch inside to outside, and they will really confound defenses by moving him into different positions on the field.
And by the way, Reynolds can move a little bit too. He can play out of the slot. Didn't do it a lot here. They actually tried that in Tennessee, and that's why he wound up in Detroit, because it didn't work.
Yep.
But he does have some of that ability.
Yeah.
Sorry,
all right, so we've got all that going on.
Weird stuff here.
We want to talk about. We got a lot going on. We want to bring somebody in. We got somebody here. We got a guest. We got the guest with the most, and let's get him in here. Let's see if we can make this work and bring in our guy, Big Scott Bischoff from Woodward.
Hi guys.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great.
Good to see you, Scott. Welcome
nice
home from middle school wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Glorious.
Did you win?
I'm getting my ass kicked.
I know. I wouldn't.
I'm getting better.
Good.
Oh, man, it's so good to have you on. It's why do we do this? Why do we wait so long, Scott?
I don't know. It's great to be here. I'm happy to join you guys. I am. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's always great to talk to you. We got a lot to talk about today because there's so much going on in the NFL, and you have so much to offer that it's almost hard to start somewhere. But I want to start with
I want to hit Scott real quick to just finish what we were talking about. We were just talking about Josh Reynolds. Your thoughts on bringing him back?
I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. The way he unlocked whatever it was for Goff. I don't know what it was, but it was noticeable. I mean, there was a large difference in what that offense looked like pre-Josh Reynolds and post-Josh Reynolds. I think Goff is clearly a guy who needs to trust his receivers to be comfortable. He is not a throw guys open quarterback at all. He needs to see it. And he needs to trust his receivers, and there was an element of that. I know it doesn't make a ton of sense because the player that it really unlocked was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think it makes all the sense in the world because it created opportunity for Amon-Ra that didn't exist when there was no one there to cover, right?
Yes, but it seemed like there was something psychological, something in Josh Reynolds coming here that just gave Jared Goff some confidence that was not there. And perhaps altered their play calling a touch. Maybe there was some communication happening between Josh Reynolds and some of the receivers in the group as to, hey, this is what's worked for Jared Goff in the past. And being down there and looking at the way he moves different than their receivers. He just does.
Mm-hmm.
He glides. I'm not saying he's fast and explosive and all that stuff. He moves different.
Yeah.
So
yep.
There's an element of I just think it's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't know that the money, the $12 million or whatever it was, $6 million a year, what's the worst case scenario? He hits all those escalators and all the good stuff in that contract to pay him that, and it's good stuff.
That's why you're paying him, right?
Yeah. I do think in where they are with trying to make Goff work, it is a no-brainer.
One of the things we talked about, and this is kind of goes a little under the radar, was how well Goff did with either Cephas or Reynolds there for more than half the snaps. He was a different quarterback. His passer rating was, I think it was, we just talked about it. I have to go back and look again. It was like without those two, his passer rating was 72. With those two, it was 104. I mean, you're talking about a significant difference. His interceptions doubled without them. There a lot of interesting. Those two guys unlocked that offense for Jared Goff. And Quintez, he made a difference too. It's kind of why we kind of looked at the data, and it's like we got to pull Quintez into this because he and Reynolds had a little bit of the same effect on the offense for Jared Goff, and it's like, this is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Cephas has been forgotten about. I mean, a little bit to the receiver group. They're in a better position now than they were a year ago when the Lions ignored that position until round 4.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
TJ Hawkinson, there's a decision there, right? Like, I think that's something that we need to talk about. But, I mean, I expect him to address it. I just don't know that. Jeff, what do you think? I mean, you think you're going to spend a ton of money on free agency at that position? I don't.
I think they're going second. I don't think they're going after Allen Robinson. We saw Mike Williams is off the market. A couple of the other guys, Chris Godwin's off the market. Somebody else was also off the market that I didn't expect to be off the market, and I'm blanking on it. But I'm looking at Byron Pringle, Christian Kirk, that level of wide receiver. Probably not Rashard Higgins, probably somebody better than that. But that's the ilk of player that I think that they're going to address in free agency. And that means that you're getting your number one out of the draft somewhere. Because those guys aren't number ones either.
Yes, but talent that you can add to the room. I do think that there's
those guys can play. Russell Gage is another example of a guy that fits into that mold as well.
Yes, that's a perfect name. I mean, that is a perfect player to come here because really good route runner, detailed route runner. I do think that Goff there is a mold, whether it's a Holmes thing or a Goff thing, whatever it is. They need, you want guys who run really good routes, who are efficient with their feet, who separate quickly and can get to their landmarks on the field where Goff knows they'll be there. And that's where he's most comfortable. I mean, we can all, whether we want Goff to work or not, whether we think he can work or not, it's in the best interest of the Lions if he does.
Right.
Yes.
DJ,
on that we will always agree.
DJ Chark, we're getting in the chat. I'm all in on Christian Kirk. I think he's a great ad, and could if he continues to grow and be what he is, he can be around for a long time. He can give you a lot of years of service. That's why I kind of like that. You can invest now and get something for more than you sign 29-year-old or 28-year-old. It gets kind of hard, right? They're kind of putting to the end. Are they going to be here? Are you ready for this? When the Lions are good?
Yeah.
Right.
They could be good next year, Chris.
Well, yeah, they could be. But I don't know that they're going to be making that push. And is next year getting into the playoffs the push that you want? And then you're already starting to retool some of these guys. I'm like, I think you want to build that core. And I think that's kind of what last year was
The other thing you're doing with a guy like that, you're getting the guys that we talked about, Pringle, Gage, Kirk. That's the level of Marvin Jones when he came here. That's the level of Golden Tate when he came here. Those worked out pretty darn well. Getting that not the top tier, not paying for the Kenny Galladays of the free agent world, but paying for that next tier. That seems to be a pretty sweet spot, and I like that concept for what Detroit's trying to do, especially in a wide receiver draft that is so good for so far deep into the draft. Mm-hmm. You can get an alpha dog at 34 this year.
Mm-hmm. You certainly can.
I think you can get a really good player even at 66.
Sky Moore,
David
baby.
Bell at 66. I mean, I know he ran 4.64, but I don't care. He can play.
There's something
You know
about
what? Brad Holmes doesn't care either. And I love that he said it in his combine press conference. I'll paraphrase. We're not looking at the 40 times. We watch film.
Yep.
And we do look at their GPS things, but we watch film. Do they look fast on film in game situations? And he didn't come out and say it, but the implication was very clear. They don't give a crap about the 40-yard dash.
Well, let's talk about that.
Dan has said that as well. He said it during the Senior Bowl broadcast when they were interviewing him on the sideline. He's like, I don't really give a damn about the 40. Does he look like he's running fast?
Here's a perfect example.
There's no reason to give a crap about the 40. And Aiden Hutchinson gave it away this year. He said it when he was interviewed. Because they said, now that the combine's over, what are you going to do? Oh, yeah, well, I've got to work and get back into football shape, yada, yada. What they're doing, and we talked about this in the Slack, they're getting into Olympic athlete shape for the combine. They're changing their weight. They're changing the way they're built. They're changing how they do things so that they can run these little drills particularly well. And then it's like, okay, now I've got to get back into football shape. That 4.4 40, 4.35 40 is not football speed for these players. And that's why you say, hold on, am I drafting the Olympic athlete or am I drafting the football player? That's why they look at film and see what do they have on film and why that matters so much more than just running between the laser pointers in Indy.
Yeah, and like as an example, there's Treylon Burks. He ran 4.55 at 225 pounds. I don't think that's slow, but then when you look at some of the GPS data, there was somebody, I don't know exactly where this was, but somebody tracked him on a long touchdown catch this year at over 22 miles an hour at 225 pounds. So, sometimes, Jeff, I don't know how much exposure you have to Burks, but he is not slow.
No, he's not slow.
No,
this is not Anquan Bolden, folks. This isn't Jarvis Landry. This is a guy who can pull away from defensive backs and linebackers. And
from SEC defensive backs.
Ran the hell away from Christian Harris in Alabama.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yep. Yeah, and I know what play you're talking about. It's that back shoulder catch on the sideline.
Yep.
Where he splits the corner and the safety and runs away from both and goes for like 70 yards.
Christian Harris ran what, 4.46?
Yeah.
He didn't come close to staying with Treylon Burks in the game.
No, so I mean, there's an element of that, and specific to David Bell, I don't think David Bell's fast like Treylon Burks is fast, but he separates in his routes early. He separates in the middle of his routes. It's a little bit of what we talked about for Goff. You know what he's going to give you. Plus, he's kind of an alpha blocker. He's a dog as a blocker, which Holmes is. I mean, it's kind of one of the last things you consider when you're looking at like the elite receivers. Are they good blockers? But Holmes has made it clear that matters, right? I mean, that's what he loved about Amon-Ra. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And Amon-Ra went out there and did his duty. He went out and blocked like he was supposed to, and earned everything he got this year. And it looks he's definitely looks to be on the upward kind of trajectory. And I think them spending the time and the money in the free agency and in the draft on the wide receiver position that they absolutely neglected last year, other than Amon-Ra, is only going to make him and the team a lot better. I want to get into something just right off the top. Draft. My eggs got scrambled this week, Scott. I was really a Kyle Hamilton guy. I understand positional, this is ahead of the combine, right? I understand, positional value and all that. Kyle Hamilton is not only a need, just at safety, he's just incredible athlete. Probably one of the best athletes in the draft. Combine happens again. Not an Olympic runner. That was a little disappointing. I expected a little more speed out of him. Hutchinson, oh my God, he just kills it out there, looking great. And then we find out that, maybe Hutchinson is moving to the top of the board for the Jags, and I'm kind of out on Kyle at 2. I don't even know what to think anymore. I'm like, everything just got destroyed in like 4 days, and help me out here. What do you think? Right off the top at 2.
Okay, so I don't know that the Cam Robinson extension really changes anything. It's 1 year. Mm-hmm. They extended him last year for a year. Mm-hmm. That is not making a commitment to a player. They have Juwan Taylor, who is entering his fourth year, his last year on his rookie deal, and he's
awful.
He's played very adequately to poorly. And then behind them is Walker Little out of Stanford, who was a second-round pick last year, who missed the 2019 season. He played one game in 2019 and tore his ACL. He opted out of 2020. He hadn't played in 2 years. I don't know what he looked like last year in practice. I have no idea. All I know is that's what they have in the room.
That's their tackle room.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Like you take Matt Nelson there. He's their starting right tackle. No question about it.
It just seems like it would be completely irresponsible for Doug Peterson. Now, Trent Baalke's a whole other story, but it seems like if you look at Doug Peterson's history with the Eagles and their desire to load up at tackle, I just think it's unreasonable to think that a franchise tagging a player and giving him $16 million when you have $3 billion in cap space really means all that much. So Scott, we'll see, right?
That's the point that has to be hit. They had to do it to spend money, because free agents don't want to go there. It's Jacksonville. I mean, yeah. I know that Florida doesn't have this tax issue. Nobody wants to play for that team. They just don't. I know Urban Meyer's gone, and Doug Peterson is a good hire for them. I like that.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be part of that culture.
But it feels like a placeholder kind of a move, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
At some point, maybe they overpay for Terran Armstead. They pay through up to the moon for him. And he comes in and, okay, then we can have a conversation about they now are set at left tackle.
I think a different Florida team is going after Terran Armstead.
I do too. So, I mean, in order to get him there, you'd really have to grease him with a ton of money. But Hutchinson, he looked really good. It's interesting to me that Hutchinson ran a better 3-cone and a better shuttle than Kyle Hamilton. What stands out to me is everybody ran super fast at the combine this year. Everybody. Except for who? Kyle Hamilton.
And a couple of wide receivers. But
yeah, but and it's not, I'm not saying he had a bad workout. He's fine. It's just,
It killed some buzz, and I do think that too many people are neglecting the fact that he is coming off of a knee injury, and I know that didn't get mentioned on the broadcast.
But the other thing too is the concept of him having to get out of the blocks in a 3-point stance as opposed to standing up. I would guarantee he runs faster standing up than he does coming out of a 3-point stance. He doesn't play like that. So, no. I mean, his whole thing is unlocking, that long stride. And to force him to come out of a 3-point stance instead of 2, I think you're slowing him down. So, I just kind of, hit on him a little bit for running a little slow, but I still think he had a really good workout. He does have those splash plays. It's interesting to me that some of the plays that everybody points to are against Florida State and those picks he made on the sidelines. And Jeff, if you're throwing those passes, he's not making picks there. Those are like arm punts kind of plays where, you know what I mean? But still, you love the range he plays with. You love the open field demeanor and all that stuff. It's just at 2,
it's a tougher sell now at 2 when you're going to have Aiden Hutchinson there, when you're going to have somebody that we need to talk about, Trayvon Walker, available at 2.
Yes.
What was your takeaway from watching Trayvon?
Really quick, Riz. Let me before we get to Trayvon, I want to hit the super chat. Just Ryan came in. He said, "Are you guys out on Willis at 2? If so, what are options at quarterback?" I know. I just want to kind of clear the quarterback piece up really quick. And since Ryan came in with his super chat, we got to give him the opportunity. Scott, I'll just poison the well. I'm out on Willis at 2. Where are you at?
I'm in on Willis at 2. I do. And now I understand the flaws. And I think some of these flaws are forever deals. Quarterbacks do need to throw with some level of touch. It can't be 1,000 miles an hour every throw. So, he's got great arm strength, but in order to be accurate in the NFL, you have to deliver. You have to put the ball where it needs to be on time. And sometimes there's touch that you need to throw with. But, I do think that this is going to be hyperbolic. He's like Michael Vick. What does Michael Vick do in today's NFL? Michael Vick ran 4.34. I think 4.34 at 210 pounds at his combine or his pro day, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Malik Willis is reported to have ran 4.38 at 210 pounds. I do believe there are some shenanigans going on with some of these dudes who are weighing in at, whatever they're weighing in at and not running at the combine. They're not going to weigh in at their pro days. They're a lot lighter, and they're going to run. They're going to run super fast. N'Kobe Dean, right? Like
N'Kobe Dean gained 15 pounds for the combine, so he'd look like he's 220. He played at 205 last year.
Yeah,
he's smaller than most safeties. Seeing him in person, he's really small.
And I was kind of tipped off to that short arms, really small. Jeff, I think it's a JOK type deal with him. I think that's how you got to play it.
He's not as big as JOK either. He's certainly not as big as
coverage. I'm not sure he's as good in coverage as JOK is.
I didn't even have him in the first round of my mock that I put out today. I do a lot of research while I'm at the combine. I'm trying to find approximate player ranges. The highest I heard anybody would draft him was 25. The NFL knows that he's small, and so for Michigan fans, Devin Bush. Yes. Devin Bush is an inch taller, has an inch and a half longer arms, and weighs 15 pounds more than him.
Yeah, and so then you look at,
and he's too small for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and then you look at we'll hit Trayvon Walker in a second, but you look at the Georgia D line and what they have in front of them, and the linebackers just running through huge gaps to make plays, and it makes them look so much better than they really are.
Yeah.
They don't have to deal with blockers at all.
True with Quay too. Like he's got the same thing. And
back to Malik Willis, I've got him down this year as the number one interception throwing quarterback in the NFL if he plays any number of games. Watching him, he doesn't have the consistency that I want from a guy that's going to start in the NFL. And it worries me. It really worries me to pick him up and what would happen, especially in the city after a year with Goff, and you put Malik Willis out there and just slinging balls all over the place. He's got a learning curve. I know Goff is really the guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Detroit's the place that's going to land for either Goff or Malik to find success in the long run.
I can already hear Andre Ware 2.0. What are we doing here? I can hear it already from 97.1 speakers all over my house. They're everywhere. My personal comparison for him is Jake Locker, who was a guy who was a really, really good athlete, a very smart, likable guy, charismatic leader who could not throw for touch and could not make an anticipatory throw to save his life or his career. And I see so much of that in Malik Willis, and that scares me off from him.
That's all very reasonable stuff. I mean, it is. And I see it too. It's just, with quarterback, I just, looking around the NFL, I just don't think you're ever going to get to where you need to go, which is winning the Super Bowl by being safe and by not taking swings. And
that's the conundrum, Scott. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
If you're doing it with any quarterback in this draft, you're doing it with Malik Willis. Like that, that's your crack at the bat right there.
It is. And you're also, there's just some desire to just pencil in whatever quarterback they want to take next year as the guy they could. Let's just load up now and we'll take a quarterback next year. Well, if there's a quarterback worthy of taking at 1 or 2 or 3 next year, the teams drafting at the top are likely going to stay and take that player. So you're not necessarily going to just waltz into whoever you like if you do like one of them.
You just sign Russ Wilson's equivalent next year. That's all. Come on, Scott.
We can just kick the can down the road and hit that position later. But I mean, you have an opportunity to get. And, I think it's much more likely he misses than he hits. It just is. But you don't have to give up anything to draft him in this class. And, Jeff, I don't know what you're hearing, but it's not a great class at the top. It just isn't.
It's not. I agree.
There are better pass rushers that are going to be in the draft next year. I think Will Anderson is.
Scott, that's the thing that's killing me. That really, let's talk reverse time back to ahead of the combine and the new data we have. And really quick, I just say thanks to Pat D. Best Lions content, period. Slack is the best Lions community, period. Just want to throw in my support. $100 super chat. Thank you, Pat. You are
buddy.
A rock star.
That's
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I see Hutchinson. I like Hutchinson. I like Thibodeau. I like him as well. They're good. They're good. where would they go last year's draft or the year before's draft? And I say, oh gosh, I talk about positional value, right? But if I compare them draft over draft over draft from a total value position, perspective, that's a P word, I know it. I'm kind of pushing them down the ladder, and that's one of the reasons why Kyle kind of crept up so high for me, because at safety, there's not one like him. At $9 million, if you sign him at number 2, he's number 16, paid number 16 in the league. Yeah. You look at like Williams or any of the guys ahead of him this year. You've got a safety on 5 years, right? If you want him at paid number 15, he's probably going to be in the top 5 every year if he plays every game. I'm like, God, that's a heck of a value in the end, isn't it?
You know what's interesting about it is this safety class is loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. The cornerback class is not.
Right.
Like Ahmad Gardner is cornerback 1, and there's a whole group of, I don't know, the safety class is the opposite of that, where, Jaquan Brisker is super intriguing to me. If the Lions pass on Hamilton and let's just, let's say they take Hutchinson at 2 and it's Brisker at 32. I mean, you have game-changing players on your defensive line and at safety, and Brisker does some things that a lot of other guys can't do. Mm-hmm. Or I really like Jalen Petrie from Baylor. I really do. I think he's a really good player, kind of a Swiss Army knife type.
He's the super version of my guy Brian Buddy Calhoun, who can play free safety, strong safety, and slot corner on first, second, and third down if you need him to.
Absolutely. So sign Marcus Williams. Mm-hmm. Draft Petrie, kind of fix the back end of your defense. If you're lucky enough to stumble into Hutchinson at 2, if that's where we think they're going to go, you've done some things on defense. Their offense, I kind of think their offense has a chance to be pretty good.
And at wide receiver, you can go get what you need at 3 in round 3. I mean, right?
You can't.
I mean, it's like I don't feel bad because we're talking how deep the wide receiver class is and how you can get guys that will move the needle. We may not wind up with that super number 1, but we would definitely upgrade and wind up in a position where Goff can perform at Goff levels, right? We can put Goff at the top of his license, if you will, performance wise, and see something really nice out of that offense.
I mean, there are options that are going to be like Sky Moore. I don't know how high he's going to go, but he's a really good player. You guys saw Calvin Austin down in Mobile.
Yeah.
You see what he moves like.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like,
talk about taking the top off of it. But he's small.
That's the thing we talked about with him. And this is the thing. It was like, that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, he's too small. I don't need another Khalif Raymond, but he's far more than Khalif Raymond. He's the kind of wide receiver. He's got every single attribute out there at the Senior Bowl except height. And I'm like, what happened?
He's more Tyreek Hill than he is Khalif Raymond.
Yes.
Yeah. Smoking Calvin Austin.
He's not that, but he's got, like, if you get that guy the ball in space, and he's going to be able to create space also with his vertical speed. Yeah. The one thing that I noted, 6 different defensive backs said that he was their toughest cover. No other defensive back or no other wide receiver got more than 1 mention all season. Yep. Now, some of that is the fact that there were a lot of guys that he played against that were there at the combine, but he came up. Everybody's like, that guy's tough, man.
Well, I mean, you guys saw him in person. I don't know what he looked like in person. It's always great to see him in person, but watching him on TV and then watching him run at the combine, I mean, he can move. I mean, that dude can scoop.
Yeah, he can.
It's just, is he a slot? Is he a guy that can you move Amon-Ra around with him?
I do worry that he is, like Khalif, a very small outside guy. Now, he talked about growing up watching Deshaun Jackson being that. Deshaun's bigger, obviously.
Yeah.
But a blazing guy who's small out of the slot who would also work in tandem with an outside receiver, and they'd switch around and stuff like that, especially in Jackson's heyday in Philadelphia. You can use him like that with Amon-Ra, and you're going to impact the defense because you're going to dictate the coverage. They're going to want their speedier guy outside or carrying Calvin Austin if you take him in the 3rd round, which I think you'd have to use 66 to get him. I don't think he's going to be there after that.
Agreed.
And then you've got, Josh Reynolds being smooth on the other side. You've got Hawkinson coming across with a linebacker chasing him that can't keep up with him.
Yep.
Now you're talking like it's not ideal. It's not a number one wide receiver, but if you're going with the pattern, if you're trying to recreate the Rams, look, Cooper Kupp wasn't a true number one.
No.
He was obviously very talented, but he's at best as the best amongst relative equals. And I think that could be the wide receiver by committee. Like maybe this week Josh Reynolds catches 6 passes for 70 yards. Maybe next week Calvin Austin catches 5 for 110.
Yep.
But has a week where he catches 1 for 2.
Yep.
I think that's kind of the offense that we're going to. I really do.
I think we get a great point here from Liner, the hopeful with her FTP or his FTP member tag. And Scott, this is one for you because I think this is a big part about him. He's small, but he had that 39-inch vertical. And he makes up a lot for that shortness, right? And again, that vertical is part of all of those attributes that made him such a good-looking wide receiver. And let's face it, if you have a 39-inch vertical versus a guy who's 2 inches taller than you has a 36-inch vertical, you're going to high point the ball a little better. I mean, there's a lot to that.
And just because a guy's short doesn't mean he's small.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there are short guys who have good size. It's just I think when we say short, I think that's a euphemism for saying he can't get off of press coverage.
Yeah.
Right. So if defenses recognize it and they press him and they mitigate him, and they can do that easily, that's a problem. But if he can get off press coverage, then I'm going to tell you, safeties are going to have to roll. They're going to have to bracket him. You're going to have to roll a safety to his side of the field, which opens up the middle part of the field. It opens up the backside part of the field. It opens.
Give me a Texas route to DeAndre Swift right behind that.
I was just going to say it opens up things for your running back. Yep. There's a lot of things you can do with speed.
Yep.
So, and it doesn't. I mean, we're talking about Calvin Austin, but what if they decide they want to take 2? What if you sign a receiver and you take Calvin Austin and throw it with what you've got? Right. It's all good stuff. I think Jeff, you're right that 66 is about pushing it for what he is as a player.
It is.
But I mean, they have ammo to move up and around and do some different things. But there's reasons that offense looks pretty good. The offensive line looks really good. Yep. The back half of the season was super promising. I'm super. I mean, I might be more optimistic about them right now than I've been in a very, very long time, if ever.
That makes sense. That says a lot. Hey, Jeff, think about who was the best cornerback at press at the Senior Bowl. It was Josh Williams, right? I mean, he shut down Christian Watson. He shut down. They whistled the play dead.
He stopped a rap on Romeo Dubes. Yeah, okay, just stop.
Done, right? Didn't ever stop Calvin Austin.
He did not.
I'm telling you, this kid was incredible out there, and I went through an evolution throughout the week. I dismissed him. I mean, I openly admit I made a mistake of dismissing him because of his height, but seeing everything else he did against all the different types of coverages and looks that he got, he's a heck of a player. He is a guy that I think. I don't know that he's going to sleep on a lot of people because a lot of people are talking about him, but I think he could probably validate wherever he's drafted. He'll probably be worth more than the position he's drafted in this.
And there's another one from the Senior Bowl, Christian Watson too, where I mean, I think his film evaluation is going to be very muddy.
Yep.
The quarterback play last year for him was horrific, and that's really being kind. Mm-hmm. So it's hard, but the traits and just the way he moves for a 6'4" guy is rare. It just is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's your outside guy who teams have to respect.
Yep.
So, a scenario presents itself where you take him at 34 and then it opens the door for whatever possibilities you want to address, later in the draft with speed. And there's a lot of those guys. And he's going to block. They run power all the time, and I think it's a prerequisite for North Dakota State is you must block.
I believe it was a 78% running offense.
Yes. So there's not a lot. There's just not a lot to see out of his film. But when you look at him at the Senior Bowl against better competition, and he's dusting everybody, and then the way he moves, I mean that's a guy where he's intriguing, and I know. I'm sure there's going to be people shaking their head a little bit about, him going as high as 34, but he's 6'4" and 208 pounds, and he moves just as good as almost anybody in this class. So he's super intriguing.
Yeah. I mean, you start putting combinations together. You think Austin and Watson on a team together and what they could do and how they could mess with coverages, throwing a little Amon-Ra, and it's a crazy looking offense. It doesn't matter if it's Jared Goff throwing the ball. This thing is crazy, right?
Yeah, and you're doing that with, I mean, I know, 32, and I think 32 is a very valuable pick.
Yeah.
34 is a very valuable place to be in this draft.
For sure.
But, you go Hutchinson, Brisker, Petrie, whatever safety, and then hit receiver, and I think you've done some really good things.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I would say that this draft, to your point, 32 and 34 are worth more than normal, and 2 is worth less than normal, right? I mean, it's kind of a weird thing. And for all the folks saying trade down, even after all the quarterback stuff that's happened, we'll talk about that shortly, Scott, as long as you have time, that's happened in the last couple days, I don't see anyone jumping up for trading up for a quarterback at number 2. I just don't see it happening.
No, but maybe for a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as a reach as that, I think that would be, if Hutchinson goes 1 in that scenario, and both Evan Neal and Ekwonu are available at 2, there's a possibility. I don't think it's a good one, but that's the only scenario where I could see somebody wanting to come up.
Yeah. Okay. And the issue there is that Detroit is not taking an offensive tackle, so you have no leverage. The pressure point would be number 3, unless you can find a team stupid enough to do the Trubisky trade.
Yeah, or I mean, is Houston moving away from Laramie Tunsil?
They are.
I mean, I know it's Houston, so who knows, right?
So they are looking. Let's put it this way: everybody in Houston would be surprised if they didn't go defense, but everybody in Houston is willing to be surprised a lot with that team.
Yeah, and the next couple of weeks will probably determine.
There's a whole. Friday is a very important day in the future of the Houston Texans. Yeah. Friday is Deshaun Watson's court dates, plural. He's in his civil and his criminal case at the exact same time. Wonderful scheduling by Texas there. So we will know a lot more about Deshaun Watson's fate later, but let's just say that a couple of the quarterback moves, not the one that Denver made, but the one that Washington made, is absolutely cast some light on how the NFL perceives what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, because Carson Wentz became a lot more valuable and desirable because of what's going to happen to Deshaun, or what they anticipate is going to happen with Deshaun Watson and his legal situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a wild card that, who knows? And maybe it also speaks to what they think of this class, too.
Yes, and that was one of the points I made when I wrote it up on Lions Wire, and it was something that I talked about with somebody today after it happened. I was texting back and forth with someone, and the general just was, you've got the number 11 pick, and you're trading assets to take on a $28 million broken Carson Wentz, who's not as good as Jared Goff, not close to as good as Jared Goff in 2021, and probably isn't going to be there in 2022. Mm-hmm. You gave up picks and took that salary on rather than take Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral or Malik Willis. That tells you what the NFL thinks about this draft class.
Yeah, and it's intriguing to me. What's Jared Goff worth next year on the market?
That's right.
Yep,
that's right, and that's and that's why another just that what's the value of the quarterback class? Malik at 2 is a wild swing. I feel like it's just a wild swing when you can get something.
It is.
You can get something of real value and do some other things. Again, Jared Goff. Hey, somebody got Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff, so there's opportunity. You got a couple of 2s next, or a couple number 1s next year to work with. You can do Goff and your first one. You can do a whole lot of stuff to find your guy in a similar kind of way they did. Who knows? There's a lot going on. Let's really quick before we get to quarterbacks. I just want to, at number 2, who's your guy right now, Scott? Who do you think the Lions walk away with?
I hope it's Hutchinson. So to me, Trayvon Walker has kind of burst through the door he's an interesting evaluation. And I think there's going to be some screaming about his lack of production, in that Georgia scheme. But if you watch, there's a lot of opportunities where he is just holding space or, getting up the field and just staying there. There's a lot of that to be seen where I think if they just let him go, it'd be a very different story. For as explosive as big as he was at 275 pounds, with knowing that he could get up to 290, the versatility of being that big down defensive end, with the Lions talking about going to a 4-man front and then kicking inside, in more pass rush situations, he's intriguing. I think right now, and I guess I'll just say this, and I might change my opinion in 6 minutes. Who knows? But I think Hutchinson is a safer player with a lower ceiling, as opposed to Thibodeau, a more volatile player, but a guy who possibly will have more sacks in the NFL than Hutchinson. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it depends on, do you want the guy who's going to be a 3-down, full effort dude who what you're getting from him, but it just might not be, 12 to 14 sacks a year kind of stuff. He's going to be very productive for you. It just might not be box score productive. Or do you want to take a flyer on a guy who may be a better pass rusher, but might not anchor as well against the run? That's kind of where I am with them right now. I think that the Lions need good players and guys who fit their culture. And I do think right now Thibodeau's character is being kind of assaulted, like we saw with Sewell last year and we saw with Herbert 2 years ago. I don't quite understand it all with the Oregon guys. But, to answer the question, I think right now it'd be Hutchinson for me, but, there's still a lot to learn.
How much about, because Thibodeau could have, I think, done a little bit of rehabilitation on his perception by sticking around, right? I mean, and it seems like a simple ask. Just stick around for the rest of the combine and do your thing. And he didn't.
Every running back bailed.
But no. I know
they all did.
But they don't have a lot of the questions standing on him that he did walking in. It's his chance to do his art.
If the knock against you is that you don't care and aren't competitive, and then you don't go compete. It was really received incredibly poorly in Indianapolis.
I'm sure it was, but I mean, he was the only one of those guys to do the bench press. You know what I mean? Like,
the Combine screwed the bench press up by making him do it at a weird time.
So
they screwed that up badly.
I still think so. He had a chance to fix his image, and he didn't. I wonder how much of it. And people say that's a knock on him as his character as a player. I'm not so sure. I'm wondering how much he's knocking his draft stock, because it's a little bit of money, but he knows his next contract's going to be a big one. He gets to a better team, the lower down he falls, the further down he falls. And I think this is a potential. I'm not saying it's what he's really doing, right? I'm not saying that this is the 100%, but boy, does it make sense for a guy like that. He probably just really, really wants to win, and landing in a place like Jacksonville or Detroit, from an outsider looking in, it doesn't necessarily feel like where you want to be. Oh, Houston, it doesn't feel like where you want to land as a player like him.
He's a big city dude. Maybe he wants to be in New York.
Exactly.
I mean, there is some potential for that to be at play. And it wouldn't surprise me a bit. He is a very smart
guy.
He's a super savvy dude. It wouldn't surprise me if his motivations are, I want to play in a big city where I can get my own cryptocurrency going and I can get my brand developed and all that stuff. Now, I know that's not all great football stuff, but
But you need to invest in the Scott Bischoff NFT, right?
I'm sure you were hearing it a lot. I'm sure it just kills people that he wouldn't do the shuttle stuff.
The damning quote that I got from somebody, and I got this when I was on Radio Row, from somebody who's significantly higher up in the draft media food chain, when he told it to me in private, was that the word on him is that he is not a guy who minds losing. He doesn't hate to lose. That is not Dan Campbell.
No. I've heard similar things too, that, his priorities are not necessarily exactly where you would want them.
He does not live and die for football. Now, Myles Garrett had the same knocks. Scott, I
absolutely
keep my pants on talking about Myles Garrett. He's incredible. But like, you never got the sense when you watch Myles Garrett play that he doesn't really like you knew that he was going like he's trying to kill people on the field. You don't get that sense with Thibodeau. You get the sense that, oh, this guy blocked me pretty nice. Let me slap his. Hey, good job, buddy. Good play. Good rep. Let's play this again.
It's interesting with him too, because on the reverse side of that is the real bad ankle injury and playing through that. Week 1 this year, real bad ankle injury, plays through it. No offense to Oregon, but I don't know that they really put him in a situation to be successful at times. Like, why are you playing him as a
team, Scott? They were not a well-coached team.
No, but you can look at the Justin Herbert stuff, same stuff. Like, Herbert is a really good quarterback. It was hidden at Oregon.
Yeah.
Like, think about how crazy bad you'd have to be as coaches to hide how good he was.
It was hidden at the Senior Bowl too. To be honest, I mean, because we watched him and we didn't walk away with any kind of none of us walked away saying Herbert's the guy.
I thought he was awesome.
I felt better about him, but I still wasn't like, wow. I'm like, okay, I get why people are buzzing about him. Like, I saw some things, but again, to Chris's point, it wasn't like I'm looking at a guy that's going to set the NFL record for touchdown passes by a rookie. I didn't.
He was not the Herbert that he wound up.
From a Senior Bowl perspective, I thought it was really interesting that the Bengals wanted him, and the way he looked, the way the ball comes out, the athleticism, all that stuff. To me, it popped. But no, I didn't think that he would be what he's turned into. But these Oregon guys, it's just an interesting thing. It's I don't know. The Thibodeau stuff will resolve itself in the end. But Jeff, I'm hearing similar things too. Like his interests are off the field outside of football, and it bothers people. It does,
and it bothers people in Allen Park specifically. And
I'm sure
for our purposes,
and it bothers a lot of people. But the whole process is about cultivating and crafting an opinion about you as a player. And I think that the way it's always worked is I want to be at the best possible position at the draft because I want to command the most money, and that's that, right? And maybe the romantic side of I'm going to help this bad team become good, right? There's a little bit of extra thinking going on too. I'll forego a little bit of money up front and bet on myself, craft a little bit lesser of an opinion amongst those teams that draft early and land somewhere where I'm going to have a better chance and I'm going to love my life a lot more as a player and have a better chance of winning.
So I wonder who his agent is, because I
was just thinking that's
like, wouldn't you want? So it seems to me like with his entire draft process to this point is that he has not controlled the narrative. A good friend is Mike Evans' agent, and it's the opposite story. When there was talk about Mike Evans running slow, the first thing he does is he puts him on Sports Science to talk about how explosive he is and how fast he is. That's controlling the narrative, right? That's determining what people are saying about you. The very fact that the three of us are having this conversation speculating about what drives him is telling me that his agent is doing a horrendous job of getting information out there. I think we'll get it. It's just a little late at this point.
You might be right. And I think finding out who that agent is going to tell us whether they're doing a horrendous job or a great job. And just and it'll help us understand what the actual motivation is for what's going out there or what's happening with his reputation. So, all right, let's talk about quarterbacks. A lot of running around. Riz, you look confused.
I'm Rolodexing through who might be his agent, and I don't know.
Okay.
I do not know the answer to that question.
Let's talk about quarterbacks. Lots of movement around the league here the last few minutes. First off, the one that I think is the most important to Lions fans and most disheartening for many is Aaron Rodgers to the Packers for 4 years and a whole boatload of money. How long is he really going to be there, Scott? And can we punish him at the end of his career and make him look like the fool that he tries so hard to make himself look like?
Can we start doing that now?
Please.
Why do we have to wait?
Week 18.
I don't know how long he's going to play. My guess is 2, maybe 2 years. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see the exact details on that contract. Like where are the voidable years on that thing? How much? would the Packers go so far as to give him $150 million for 2 years?
And
I don't know.
And literally throw away the picks that they traded to get to Jordan Love, because that's where they're at, right? That's literally saying we are just throwing all of that in the garbage at this point and moving on from both of them in whenever Aaron's.
But in some ways they had to do that to make that declarative statement to Aaron Rodgers as you're still our guy.
Yep.
And we're going to pay you enough money to show you that you're still our guy. So I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know how long he plays. He's 38, right?
Yep.
I believe so.
I'd say he has 2 years, but at the end of that 2-year window, I think the Packers are in serious trouble.
I mean, look, they already dropped Zadarius Smith. They're letting go of some other people. David Bakhtiari will not be long for them at the contract that he's at if they're paying. Like Devontae Adams is obviously locked in, and that's important. They're going to have to. They have a very small window, and I think they realize now that, like, okay, we've got 2, maybe 3 years left of this nice run that we've had for going on, and then it is going to end. But we're going to go all in on it. We're not going to half-ass it. We're like, let's go. Let's do what the Rams just did. Let's do what the Broncos.
I think at the end, though, it's going to be very ugly. I hope so. I think it's going to burn quick, right? Like,
hope so, man.
For us Lions fans, it opens a window for when I think the Lions will be competitive, and I think the Vikings will have sort of had a pretty rapid turnover as well. Mm-hmm. So then it becomes, what does Justin Fields look like with the Bears? And there's an opportunity. The Lions could be.
You're right, Scott. There is a window, probably not in 2022, but 2023, 2024, 2025, where the Lions can rise up very quickly in this division.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Minnesota's new GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. I think he is going to do a very good job for them. I do think he's going to have some growing pains, and they do have to figure out their quarterback situation long term.
Yeah.
But they have the ability to get things right because they have a very nice core. Look, they got a lot of work to do too, but I trust that guy to get it done. I advocated for him to get the Lions job when they hired Brad Holmes. That is not any sign of dissatisfaction with Brad Holmes whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I was familiar with Kwesi. I knew what he offered. I knew how he was looked at by really smart people. That he's smarter than them. And
well, it's a bummer when a team inside your division makes a hire that makes you sad.
It is. And I'll tell you this, I got the same reaction from a guy who covers the Bears. He's like, God, this guy's in our division.
Yep. Yeah. Not great. I mean, it's like, Russell Wilson going to Denver and looking around and seeing Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr and Justin Herbert, and you're thinking, it's like the murderer's row of
and we just gave up. We just gave up a good starting defensive tackle, our best tight end, any chance to improve around you, and I don't know, man. That's a lot for. Look,
good luck.
Russell Wilson's really, really freaking good. Mm-hmm. He's also not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah,
very quietly didn't play all that well in Seattle the last year and a half with really good weapons.
Up and down, yeah.
Correct. And then you throw in Josh Allen on that side in the AFC. You throw in Joe Burrow, and you've got there's Lamar Jackson, there's Deshaun Watson, wherever he ends up. It's
AFC's got some, and
it's loaded.
Imagine if Cleveland gets a quarterback or the Baker Mayfield that was good for 15 games in his career. They're right there too, because their roster's better than any of them.
That's a very talented roster. It really is.
So yeah, it's a loaded AFC right now, and that's one of the reasons why I think was the motivating factor for what Rodgers and the Packers did. Like, I think he looked at Denver as like, I got a better shot winning here than I do there.
Yeah.
And I think that factors into it too. I also think that factored into why Washington was aggressive enough to do the move that they did, going after Carson Wentz, which makes, I don't want to say it makes no sense to me, but what does that guy have that everybody's still, I don't see it, Scott.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's got pain, anxiety, and insomnia. So he goes to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com and takes care of everything that's wrong with his head, body, and everywhere else. It's good for all those things. Use coupon code LIONS. Get yourself 55% off. It's from Diamond CBD. They are the best CBD suppliers out there. I've had numerous people come to me and tell me that they've gone elsewhere and were never as satisfied as what they got from cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. It sits right here. I use it every day. I swear by it. The recovery cream after my workouts. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. That's what they're going to need on the Washington Commodores after bringing in Carson Wentz. That's the name, right?
It is
Commodores.
such a confusing move. It just, is he an upgrade over Taylor Heineke? Maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
But, I suppose if you design an offense around the short to intermediate stuff and you get him moving, maybe it works. They have weapons there. It's just
they do.
It's just I don't know. I don't get it with him. I think he had a nice run with the Eagles, and it's just been. I mean, some of the off the field, it sounds like he is a very difficult guy.
That's what's coming out. If you read The Athletic by Zach Kiefer, free promo for you, Zach. He's got a really good article up from the Colts insider perspective of why they wanted to get rid of Carson Wentz more than you could ever imagine.
Yeah. The fact that he didn't work in Indy with what they have there, with the head coach, that is like there should be alarm bells going off. Because I think Reich can I think he can make a lot of things work.
I think he's a great coach.
I do too. And the fact that he couldn't get it right with Wentz, and it almost seemed like Wentz was resistant to what they were trying to achieve. Wow.
Indianapolis is such a crazy team because they had Luck, they had Manning, and without those two, they've just not been able to put it together.
This will be their fifth quarterback in 5 years. They are not in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes if Deshaun gets cleared from everything that I've been told.
Wouldn't they be in the Jimmy Garoppolo sweepstakes?
That's the next move is where Jimmy G winds up, and Indianapolis sure makes a ton of sense for that.
Yeah, it does. It's just, how much do you have? I mean, if I don't know what they gave up in the end for Wentz, a couple of thirds, and maybe one of them has a chance to be a second kind of thing.
Yeah, and they swapped 5 spots in the second round. So that was
draft 16th. Who are they going to get to throw the ball in this draft? I don't know. I mean, I understand the dislike for Wentz, but holy cow, I remember the year before they got Luck, the whole fan base was just suck for luck. That's all they were. That's how they just chanted themselves and rocked themselves in the corner until it happened. And
Curtis Painter and Dan Orlovsky weren't getting it done.
No. I don't know. You can't say that. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. As an Indy fan, or for Indy fans, I don't even know what they're looking at as far as the future out there. What kind of hope they can find.
I don't know.
I think Jimmy G's a good player. He's a good quarterback. Is he an elite guy? No. I don't think he's elite, but he's he would be a huge upgrade over Carson Wentz.
Agreed.
I agree.
We'll see what happens with that. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think Seattle's going to do? Is Drew Lock their guy, or are they a team that could trade up to do whatever they need to do to get Malik Willis?
They're at 10, right? Oh no, they're not.
They're at 9.
They have the 9th pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't know that Malik Willis and the Seahawks are a great combination of. It's always seemed to me like they want like for lack of a better term, like a facilitator type quarterback.
Matt Flynn.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. Like you stumble into Russell Wilson, and that's great. He was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah,
but they had signed Matt Flynn, who was a limited guy, but they want to run the ball heavy. They want to make it easy on their quarterback, do a lot of heavy running, and my assumptions are with Willis is that I don't know why you're drafting a quarterback like Malik Willis to hand the ball off.
Right.
So maybe
sit around for like a howl.
I don't know. Because he's athletic, maybe Mitch Trubisky ends up in Seattle. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
But if you look at what the Bears did with him 2 years ago to make him work, it was heavily designed around rollouts and play action and kind of cutting the field in half. and David Montgomery went bananas in that scenario. So,
just not the left side of the field if it's Biscuit, right?
I don't know.
Let me ask you this: would you take Mitchell Trubisky over Carson Wentz for 2022?
Yeah, probably.
I would too.
I am not a Wentz guy.
I'm not either.
At this point, I'm just not. There's enough out there about him and about maybe not being a great teammate, and seeing some of the decisions that he's made. I don't think there's any upside with Wentz. I think he's sort of, in the summer of his career, where Trubisky, I think there's something there. I don't know. I don't know how much you're going to get out of him, but there's more there, I think, than there is with Wentz.
Carson Wentz, by the way, is 29 already.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
He's still in the league,
but that's a beat up 29 years old, man. He's with the knee injuries, and
he is 2 years and 2 months older than Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Wow. Jared Goff, by the way, 27 years old, born October 14th, 1990.
A lot of value in Jared Goff right now. And this is a weird Lions fan thing. I hate my guy. But he's one of the better ones in the league. I don't know how many players I've seen this with over the years. I feel like Goff, Goff is obviously the guy in 2022.
Well, what's he worth on the open market today? What would you get for Goff?
Oh, God.
Would if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, would you give a second this year and next year for him?
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So in terms of the trade and what they got for Stafford, I think you have to add some of that stuff on.
Yeah.
Down the road. I mean, I think it would be a mistake to move on from Goff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Unless they were wowed by something, but he's more valuable than they did a really good job in the back half of last year.
I think they really believe in him. I think that this staff really believes in Jared Goff, and they understand. Look, and we walked into this season saying 3 wins, 5-win team here, right? There's not a lot going on. And then, we went 9 games without a win, and the freak out was on, and everyone said, I know I said that, but ignore I said that. We're not winning, and I'm angry, and it's freak out time, right? And it was like that across Lions. And then they get the tie, and it was like it's so blue, whatever. And you're just like, God. And finally in Minnesota they get the win, and it lifted the weight off, and you see Goff perform at the end of the year. What did we expect? We knew we had, and I'm not dogging him because we talked to him since the beginning, but Jerry Jacobs was your starting cornerback for a number of games. Who ever sees success out of an undrafted free agent at rookie cornerback ever? I can't remember another one, and he just balled out when he played this year. Great dude, great play. It was awesome. We had all kinds of young guys that would have never seen the field on other teams get out there, and people are like mad that we're not in the playoffs. It was when we started the season with we're a 3 to 5 win team. I don't know how people got to this different place, man. Jared Goff is valuable. I like, Scott, what you're saying about where this team is now and where they could be next week. It's a different team. I mean, it's the right thing. And we talk about the window in the NFC North. I'm tying a couple of things we talked about here together. It's year 3, year 4, and year 5 of the Holmes and MCDC contracts, which is right in the sweet spot to see, are we delivering? Are we getting what they're supposed to be delivering at that point? I mean, all these things for the first time in the Lions, history that I can remember, a whole lot of things are lining up in their favor. Will it pay off? We'll see, but there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that are finally dropping into place.
Absolutely. And I think the hardest thing for any team to do coming off of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn is to get the culture right.
Oof.
And I think that takes time. The Lions did that very quickly.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you're starting Jerry Jacobs and Dean Marlowe and a bunch of very young guys, but they balled for those guys. I mean, they played, which is a testament to the coaching staff and the culture that they already have. So the fact that they're in a very much positive direction with the culture in that locker room already is just, it speaks volumes for what this team could grow into.
Yep.
It really does.
Yep. Thunder, I can't say it because we get demonetized on it. Thunder C. Smith. To be fair, Goff played incredibly bad the first half. Can you blame anyone for trashing him? I will go back to the stats we gave earlier. He played just fine when Cephas was on the field. When he didn't have Cephas or Reynolds, absolutely. There was a big steamy emoji turd sitting in the middle, behind center on the Lions.
His weeks, and keep in mind that some of the early Cephas fluff came in. They were bombarded by San Francisco and rallied late against a team that proved that they couldn't cover late against a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So even the impressive stats with that don't impress me much, to quote Shania Twain. But the end of season stuff looked a lot more legit, and I think that's because the offense structure changed, and they also got better weapons around him. Chris, you and I have thought about this, but I really do think that the absence of DeAndre Swift made him a much better quarterback because he's quit throwing to him so damn much and started looking more down the field.
I think, and this is my Chris Dust. I think it coincided right with the A-Lin departure and
Taylor Decker being injured, right? Frank Ragnow being out. There's so many things.
Anthony Lynn, and I've heard this from a couple people. He schemed for Hawkinson and Swift. That was it. There was no check downs. When people are saying Goff isn't checking down, oh my gosh, that was the design. His coaches were screaming at him, at Anthony Lynn. His players were screaming at him. They were angry with him. The thing that I'm the most just stunned by is how amicable the departure of Anthony Lynn was. Hearing about his behavior and how he checked out along the way after he was relieved makes me see, holy cow, after he's gone, that interview he gave where he was very complimentary, I never ever would have expected that. But they did this well, they handled it well, they treated it well. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people that not only didn't like Anthony Lynn and his play calls, but they were angry with him. And the DeAndre Swift thing, I put directly on him, not on Swift leaving, making Goff better. So, Riz, that's our disagreement. That's fine. We can have that later. We don't need to pull.
We'll find out more if that's true this fall.
Swinging.
When Swift is once again getting the inordinate amount of touches, even though Jamal Williams is clearly a better runner. That's another battle that we'll have.
Yes. There we go.
Fantasy people hate me. Speak the truth.
Yeah,
I don't live in a fantasy world. I don't do fantasy well.
That Aylin thing is so underplayed. Like, there was so much that was going on that it isn't out. It's incredible that there was so much going on in there throughout the year when he was running the show and after he was gone. The stuff that happened and the interactions that happened are incredible. And
it's amazing that that's not well-known stuff.
Well, we our inside, our linebackers coach that is no longer with it. There's very quietly was off. I was waiting. I mean, everyone in the Slack knows I was on top of that. He was off the website for days. I'm like, are we going to be the ones to report on the podcast? I mean, we got pushed back till Saturday that week. It's like, if this is going to be us reporting it, I guess it is. I'm surprised no one's got this. And it came out, and then it was like very quietly, oh, we've just parted ways. That's it. Well, gosh, Aylin, there was all that stuff going on, and there was an announcement and all that, and there was an announcement of everybody. This one was just like on the table. That one is ugly. That one is some ugly stuff. What I've learned about this organization is number one, the class that they have in handling their personnel and their people. It is endless. I've never seen a pro sports organization, or at least known of a pro sports organization, to handle this kind of stuff this well externally and in the media.
I'm just trying to think of Dan Gilbert as the potential Lions owner handling that after how he handled everything.
Think about how Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn would have handled that.
God.
Oh my gosh. Could they have traded him?
Okay.
It's a different world.
You brought me back to, because this is a conversation that you and I had in person in Mobile a couple of years ago about Quandre Diggs, and you know the story of why he was traded.
Yep.
Do you think he would come back, and would you take him back?
Yeah, it's a good player, of course.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of bringing in safeties is important to this team. I think they want to. I mean, I could be wrong. I think they want to play 3. I think it sort of opens up.
This is a 4-2-5 team. It is not a 4-3 team.
Correct.
They will play 3 linebackers on about 8% of their defensive snaps.
Yeah.
I'll take the under. I think that of those 5 defensive backs, my assumption is the Lions really want 3 of them to be safety.
Yes.
One of them to be a little heavier in the box.
Yes.
So having said that, I think you need versatile guys. You need Marcus Williams. You need it's one of the bigger things that happened yesterday was that he didn't get tagged, that he is available.
Yeah. Yep.
You need to draft. I mean, I think the idea of playing Marcus Williams deep and letting him roam, with his range and adding Brisker to the mix with the physicality he plays with.
Boom.
Right. I mean, I think it's a really nice fit. And, with whatever happens with Tracy Walker, I like Tracy Walker as a player.
Yeah.
So the versatility of, the different skill sets that all of those guys have and the trust knowing that they're going to play them the right way. I think there's a lot of that. Quandre Diggs is still a really good player. I could see him being big.
More interceptions than any other safety since he was traded. And by the way, more than double the amount of interceptions that the Lions defensive backs have in that same time period, taking out Amani Oruwariye.
The other thing the shift in this kind of defensive scheme does is it covers a need you had at linebacker. It kind of removes one of your higher level draft needs from running things the way you were before.
They need
you know
one.
What I mean? Yeah.
They need one.
But that's different. It's completely different than where they would have been had they not changed things up. And I think this is a real big help for them and kind of belies a little bit about the draft strategy and what they're doing. We're going to scheme a little bit about the players around the players we got. We're looking at a different set of players than being able to play this. So let's move the scheme into that. So I think this kind of gives us a little bit of information.
And the linebacker that they need, are we thinking he's more of a run stop sort of in the box player, or does he need to be a coverage guy?
A Jelani Tavai, 240-pound thumper.
Based on Derek, what we saw from Derek Barnes this year, because he will be one of the starting linebackers on this team next year.
Yeah.
Again, one of the 2. There will be 2, not 3, not 4, 2. Derek Barnes is one of them. He is your in-the-box run guy. He's got to get better at it, but he's better at that potential than he was in coverage this year, which was painful to watch.
Yeah.
So now I think you can get it. The free agent market for off-ball linebackers this year is wild, and it's cheap. You can get the NFL's leading tackler last year, Foye Oluokun, who, by the way, sealed the win for the Atlanta Falcons against the Detroit Lions with an interception. $5 million. Less than you're going to pay Josh Reynolds. Mm-hmm. Devondre Campbell, maybe $6 million. First team All-Pro in his first year in Green Bay.
Jeff? There is a video. It's great that you brought him up. I've kind of forgotten about this, but there's a Senior Bowl video of the Lions, and there's a discussion about a 28-year-old free agent who plays really well coming downhill, and he'll be 29 before the season starts. And they're talking about a defensive player who fills gaps and is good against the run and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, who's 28 years old right now and is a free agent? Devondre Campbell. Who's going to be 29 at the start of the season? Devondre Campbell. There you go. Right. I mean, add him to the mix and like you guys are saying,
you're done.
You don't need to address that.
Then you can draft a late round guy or sign maybe Anthony Pittman steps up. I doubt it. Maybe Tavante Beckett steps up. I doubt it. But you never know. But you can get a 6th or 7th round guy that you can bring in for specific situations. Let him go crazy on special teams. And see what you got. It totally eliminates the need. I know we already banged on Nakobe Dean, but also like Devin Lloyd. I think the earliest they would consider would be Damone Clark, just because of the connection that he has with Kelvin Shepard, which Kelvin talked to us about in Mobile personally. The way his face lit up, it's hard to not ignore that. But that's the guy that you're getting at 66 and no higher.
Yep. And there are other guys too. Troy Anderson from
Anderson was a killer in the combine. The buzz for that guy, I don't think he's going to be there at 66 anymore.
He might not be. I mean, he played quarterback and running back until like 3 years ago, so super raw. But a special teams monster, a guy who can develop into something for you. I do think it's the best use of resources to fill that coverage position in free agency with a cheap option instead of drafting one early.
Definitely.
I think 32, 34 are premium picks.
Yeah.
I'd really
again that veteran. There's so many good veterans that are going to be out there. Malcolm Smith is a guy, really good coverage backer for Cleveland. Can't tackle anybody. He can cover. Like Anthony Walker is going to be out there. There's a whole Bobby Wagner is now out there. You're obviously not going to want to pay Bobby Wagner $10 million anymore. But if he wants to come play for $7.25 for a couple of years, sure.
Yeah.
And there will be more. And the other thing with guys like that, you can wait till after June 1st, which means that you can cut Trey Flowers after June 1st, save an extra $6 million in cap room, and use that to dispersing it amongst veterans so you can go high hog earlier.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. So I know we're not necessarily calling this a free agency prediction show. I think that if they're signing somebody next Wednesday, it's going to be an off-ball linebacker like a Devondre Campbell.
We're calling it the race to free agency, Riz. Go nuts. Let's go. Get behind the wheel. Take that car off the road.
If I'm doing a reaction video to a Lions signing next Wednesday night, it's going to be an off-ball linebacker who will be their leading tackler next year.
That'd be great. We should be thrilled about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Love it.
I love it. All right, Williams. I let you, like you said, he wasn't tagged. I didn't see him getting tagged. Going back, sorry, I have to go back.
Not in New Orleans. They don't have the money.
They don't have the money.
They're up against it in a variety of ways, and it's just how much do you? Because he's only 25.
Yep.
He's a foundational player. He is not. He's not a guy who's coming in at the end of his career looking for one last payday.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Matthew fits that bill.
Yeah, I mean you're building around him. He's a player that you. There are players in this class who are older than him.
Yeah,
in the draft class.
Yeah.
So
Bernard Ryman is older than him.
Yeah, I think there's a receiver. Is it Velus Jones is really old too? Like 24, 25?
He will be 25 as a rookie. Kenny Pickett is 24 going on 25. Like he's older. I don't think that gets brought up enough when you're talking about him. That's another drawback aside from the fact that he has the freakishly small hands.
Yep.
And it's a big deal. I know that we would probably get made fun of talking about how big of a deal it is, but it's a big deal.
It really, it can't be emphasized how it really is a big deal.
It is
more than it should be, and more than you really like. There were some conversations in Indy last week, it's akin to like not having a foot. I mean, it's like forget it.
It's a big deal. I mean, it really is. And he's got fumbles at Pittsburgh.
And that's what the college size ball.
Talk about him
that's
playing at Pittsburgh, and it's like, well, but they don't play into December, in college. They don't. So, if it's a cold weather, windy city, I don't know what you're doing with him. I really don't.
Yeah, I can't find it right now. We have a picture of him at the Senior Bowl holding a Gatorade bottle because he wouldn't measure. And we're like, let's get that. Let's see if we can get some mathematician to calculate the circumference of the bottle and get the hand size out of it. But I know my hand covers a bottle better than his does.
I was kind of all out when I saw him at the combine in the hallway inside the hotel throwing passes with his gloves on. Like, come on.
It was so nice in Indianapolis, too. It was the nicest weather for this was the 15th time I have been to Indianapolis. This was the nicest weather. Now, granted, I was only there for 3 days, but it was glorious. I wore shorts.
Are you going to tell us what the wind in the stadium is? Are you pulling a full TO right now? The combine.
I did not go in. I was not in Lucas Oil Stadium. That's reserved for the media bigwigs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not bribing those people. I did stay at the hotel. I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express across the street, so maybe I absorbed something from that.
There you go. I'm sure you did, but not what you thought, though.
The Speedway station across the street was a little shady.
Just leave the black light at home. You'll sleep better. Woo! All right, so there's that. I want to really, if you're still good, Scott, to talk about one more guy. I'd like to kind of pull this one up because there's a lot of speculation about it. I think there's a narrow, you're threading a needle to make it work. I think you're talking really low percentages. You're taking the under on this one as well. Allen Robinson at wide receiver. There's a couple things, right? He doesn't want to be in Chicago anymore. He doesn't. It's obvious he doesn't want to be there. His Twitter, everything else. He grew up in Detroit. right?
Yeah.
He played in Detroit. His heart obviously is in Detroit. He's got his Detroit versus everybody in his Twitter. Is there? I mean, the only way you thread the needle with A-Rob is with some kind of a hometown discount. You can't pay him the big money. You can't go out there. Let me ask you, because if I go to PFF, right, they're telling me, 15 million a year. Do you sign Allen Robinson at $15 million a year for 3 years on this team?
I do not. I would. I mean, to me, if you're considering that, I understand it, but I think there's a better use of your. We talked about it.
Yeah.
I would be drafting wide receiver at 32 and another one at 66 to cover those needs. I don't know that they need to do that, but I mean, it just seems like an unnecessary use of resources unless they're sold on him being like a true, legit, backside X, like a guy, like the guy, right?
Yeah.
And if they determine that they absolutely need that, I don't know that they do. So that's where I'm coming from. It is, I don't know that it's as big, I don't know that Allen Robinson is as big a need here as what he might be elsewhere.
Yep. And this
doesn't make any sense.
No. And his age, right? He's going to be 29. So that makes him 31, 32 if to sign him again. He's not going to get a second contract. And we're talking about the team, and we're talking about where's the window, 2023, 24, 25. He's going to be gone in the middle of that window. Is that really the hole that you want to create? A guy who, if he plays as well as you think,
I want rookies developing and flourishing into something big.
Or
as that window opens up.
Or if you sign someone, again, I'm going to go back to my thinking on like a guy like Christian Kirk, who's 25. He's a younger guy. You're going to get him through that window, and then you're not going to, right as you're hitting, you're not going to be looking for a key replacement for a player, right? You've got a guy that can kind of help carry you in and carry you through if he matures to where you want him to be. And if not, well, then you can replace him. But A-Rob, you're going to have to find a replacement in the middle of this big change, and it's a must-hit replacement.
And Jeff mentioned it earlier. A lot of the receivers that we thought would hit the market have not. So I think his price is probably higher than that.
Yep.
And he's a really good player. It would be a great story for him to come back to Detroit, play with the Lions. I'm sure he would be productive. I'm sure that he'd be a nice player here. It's just that's a lot of money for where they are.
And I have you down here as all in on Calvin Ridley. Is this true?
No. That's an amazing story.
Let me scratch that out really quick.
Idiot.
Okay. I don't know where we got that. Sorry, I must have.
How many burners do you need? Like, I have a burner phone. I'm nobody. Like, dude, it's not that hard.
It's amazing. It is just an amazing thing. That whole thing from when he left the team to now is just, I feel like there's going to be a 30 for 30 someday on that. That'll be mind blowing. Like the stuff that went on. He's
done. He's done. No one.
I don't know how you would look at him and put any trust in him to sign him in 2 years.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know where the value is with him right now. I don't know.
Definitely, you're looking for a guy who beats his fiance. That's the big step.
Well, I mean,
right? With a 2-game suspension.
Find those guys.
I'm like,
sadly,
wow.
There's a lot of them too.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I say that, and I don't mean to make light of that actual type of thing, right? And also, there's a thing I saw a study years ago that NFL players compared to society as a whole are actually are less felony inclined, if you will. I don't know how to say that, right? But so they actually offend at a lower rate than the general populace.
It's just we know every time one of them steps, makes a bad step, right? Like we know. It is amazing the discipline and the way it just seems so out of touch.
Yeah.
I mean, the gambling thing has become such a big deal, and it's everywhere. It's promoted everywhere.
Scott, you live in Michigan. You know, every other freaking ad is what is it? Rivers or Bet River or Caesar or God knows what. There's.
Yep.
I live in West Michigan where we've got all the we've got all the tribal casinos over on this side of the state, so they all have their own. It's crazy, and then I also get Chicago ads for going down to Hollywood.
I can't even get a
insanity.
sports book in Florida. It's driving me nuts. We had it for like a month and a half, and then they shut it down, and it's all an appeal. And it's like, come on, guys, let's do this. Like, come on. So what was? I've seen the tweet. I didn't see this. Did he tweet this? I bet $1,500. I don't have a gambling problem.
Yes, he did.
He did. Walk away from the Twitter machine there, Chief.
Oh my God! But so let's think back. This is what's so weird about the NFL. Okay, I remember when Tony Romo first started out, and he was up there with Jim Nantz, and I bet you $5 it's a run to the right the next play. He said that on the air, right? He's like ready to gamble with Nantz as an announcer on the NFL and former player. I'm like, you probably don't want that on there, right?
Probably don't want to do that. Tony Romo's got to be smarter than that too.
And he hasn't said it. I mean, he did it for that 1 or 2 games, and then they really came down. It never happened again. But that was part of what made him so great early, right? He was your buddy sitting next to you on the couch watching the game.
And now we are the next Lions stadium will be named after a sports book. There's no doubt about it.
So here's the thing. Let's take
FanDuel Arena.
All the gambling kind of interspersed in here with the league, and you look at the old XFL, and you had the transparency in the booth on the replays. Let's be honest, there is so much controversy in officiating. If you're going to bring the gambling in, you have to clear up the transparency, don't you? Because if without the transparency, you've now created the worst. I mean, you might as well say, have Goodell. I bet you $1,500 the Falcons win this week, right? I mean, that's where you're at this point. If you don't get,
I mean, it's just they can't have players doing. They just can't, right. and it's abundantly clear to the players that they can't.
It's very explicitly listed in their contracts, and there is a sign. I can tell you where it is in Ford Field, and I can also point you to the one in Allen Park. I know exactly where they are. That says, any sort of gambling of any type, not just on football, is strictly forbidden while you are a playing employee of the Detroit Lions. And I guarantee you that's in every other locker room too. Yeah. I know it's in Cleveland. I know it's in Cincinnati.
How do you get so arrogant and stupid? I mean, it's a weird combination that your account login is Calvin Ridley from the Falcons. I mean, is that like, look, people might not know who I am walking around town. I'm going to go ahead and wear I am Calvin Ridley shirt and the hat. And like, how do you do this? What is this thinking?
That's Ace Frehley wearing the I'm Ace Frehley t-shirt when he's in the concert. So he remembers who he is.
It's amazing. The story, I mean, it really is, it's an incredible story.
Boy.
I don't know how it happens. It's mind-numbing.
You've had enough of that shit.
Yes, we have, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
There you go.
All right.
You aren't wrong.
Woof. Well, I bet you $15 we're close to the end of the show.
I don't have that money right now.
Yeah. You can own them.
All right.
I'm going to go to Louisville and buy souvenirs for my daughter's volleyball team all weekend. Oh, my God. I can finally hear again. Let me just tell you. I blew out of the combine early so I could take my daughter to a very prestigious volleyball tournament in Louisville. 134 volleyball courts in one area with 12 girls on each team, 2 teams on each net, all screaming at the same freaking time. Oh, Scott, you and I we saw Metallica together. Yeah. This was so much louder than that.
I imagine it was, and I can't imagine that's a good thing.
You screamed just like those girls, be honest.
Oh.
I did when my daughter's team beat the reigning national champs.
Oh, man.
Props to Far Out National 13U for coming in second in the biggest tournament that's not the national tournament.
Let me ask you guys, what's your best?
My daughter's awesome.
What's your best Metallica concert?
Well, the early days.
Yeah. I remember 4th of July at Pine Knob before it was DTE and then Pine Knob again. That was a really, really good one.
So the first one I saw was Monsters of Rock tour.
Yeah,
and
that's a good one.
I'll be honest, I went to see Dokken and Scorpions because that's what I was into at the time. I then saw Metallica again on the Reload tour, which is not their best catalog of work.
No.
And then I saw them in 2006. And I'm one of the blessed souls. I got to see them at S&M, so I'm partial to that.
Mm-hmm.
I won. That was the day that Columbine happened. I was in San Francisco doing work. Nobody was listening to the radio. They had a call in for tickets. I won. So I went. I took the guy who was in the hotel room next to me from the Vallejo Holiday Inn, and we went and saw the S&M show together. The second night, it was incredible. And then I saw them one other time, and then I saw them with Scott. And honestly, seeing them at Comerica when Scott and I, they were really good, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was loud. I saw them at the State Theater in Detroit, which is now the Fillmore, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was they're great. They're great. It's just, I think the older stuff is
100%. I saw him open for Ozzy on Master of Puppets. I saw him at Monsters of Rock, and that's when I worked at 99.5 in Detroit. So I had backstage passes. So here I am. I'm underage, as far as under 21. Had all area passes. I could walk. I mean, they're making everybody stay in their seats. It's a 9-hour show. They were panicked about what kind of violence or whatever could break out. No alcohol for sale during the show. 9 hours long. No alcohol available. I could walk right up with a film camera back in the day, right, and take pictures from like right at the front barrier of the team or of the band. Go backstage, hang out with them, meet them. Got a picture with Newstead. Talk with Hatfield. Cool as hell. Drank beers out the rear the whole time. I was tanked underage when I left there. When we met Van Halen, we were like almost funneling. We were shotgunning beers in back, waiting for Eddie and Sammy to come back. But the coolest part was I saw him up in Saginaw on the tour right afterward, and I got the picture of me and Newstead signed by Newstead, right? I gotta dig that up. That was a fun. Those were always the best Metallica shows ever, man. Those were, I mean, the Access part was cool, but man, they jammed back then. That was like, it was new. Yeah. It was forbidden, right? Now you'll hear it in an elevator, right? You wouldn't even hear it on the radio back then. It was good times. Loretto, Metallica and Godsmack in 95. That's a good year. All right. Let's talk about.
That's a long time ago for Godsmack. Wow.
Yeah.
When I saw them in that era, Days of the New and Jerry Cantrell opened.
Mm-hmm. I saw Lollapalooza.
Days of the New.
Who was it?
Wow. They weren't good.
No, but it's so long ago. It
is.
Yeah. Wow.
And then a week later, I saw Van Halen with Our Lady Peace at the same place at the outdoor theater in outside of Cleveland.
Mike Hodges check in. I thought Riz was hanging like a deadhead for the Steve Miller Band U.S. tour. That's actually.
Oh, die! Die!
I forgot about his love for Steve Miller and the rest of the band.
If I could go back in time and eliminate the birth of one person, it would be Steve Miller.
That's saying something.
Yeah, he didn't choose Hitler.
It's amazing.
He's on the fence on Hitler, I guess. Steve Miller, no good. He's on the fence though.
Steve Miller can die. The only person I've ever preemptively blocked on Twitter was Steve Miller. I don't want anything to do with that bastard and his musical crimes against humanity. Hate the Steve Miller Band.
Do with that what you want. All right. Hey, if you're going out, you're getting your stuff. It's that kind of time. You don't want to go out and see people. They're still getting sick. There's still stuff going on. People are pretty generally horrible. You want to buy your stuff? Head on over to Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. They'll take you right over to the site. You won't notice anything. They'll throw a little cookie saying, "Hey, Riz, Chris, we sent you over there," and you know what they do? They share a little bit of Bezos money with us. Doesn't cost you any more, but it takes that son of a bitch out of the sky. Who wants him flying over and wrecking your night sky with his stupid rockets? Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Support the podcast by doing something you were going to do anyway. With that, Scott, man, we love having you on. You want to hang out for the close? You mind hanging out?
Anytime.
Do the whole thing and just kind of listen to the whole spiel at the end. It's kind of fun.
I'm going to roll. I have so here's the thing. When you have kids who are doing extracurriculars and they've got homework that they have to do, and I can hear them not doing the homework that they have to do, we're going to go handle that.
Good on you, Scott. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. We've got to have you come in again. If not
Anytime.
Before the draft, certainly after the draft, we can recap and get your thoughts on what all has happened.
Mock draft show.
I'm available for you guys anytime.
Mock draft show, first week of April-ish is what we're looking for, but I'll get in touch with you. I'll DM you. We'll get together and we'll do our full first round draft. Maybe we'll go to the second pick of the second round just for fun.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
Good.
Brother.
It was good hanging with you guys. I appreciate it.
You too. Appreciate you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Bischoff. Thank you.
See you guys.
All right. See you later, buddy. We'll talk to you. All right. Scott Bischoff leaving.
You've had enough of that shit.
No, coach.
No, coach.
No. We love Scott.
We love Scott.
Awesome. He's great. What are we doing?
Scott's brother at the Metallica concert was also great. That was a fun guy.
What are we doing? I mean, we get him on and we could talk forever, right? And it's
we did actually. It's 8:30.
We don't have him on enough, man. What are we doing? What are we thinking over here? Okay. We got all that going on. Mark, he's got Faith No More, Guns N' Roses, and Metallica, 93-ish, the Silverdome. Yeah.
Wow.
Those were great days. Those were great days for Metallica and a lot of music. Lollapalooza. I'll tell the story. Maybe St. Jude next time in the middle of the night because some of these stories. I told you about my crash.
We need to have a music hour during the next one. That'll be fun.
My Lollapalooza story is pretty crazy.
Maybe we'll get Brian Burkheiser from I Prevail to come join us. Friend of the show, friend to you and I.
Yeah,
would be great. I'm sure he would do something for us. He's
like one of those guys. He's right in there. It's one of those things where we have a guy who's like famous, right, and does all this great like creative, awesome stuff, and you meet him. And it's not you met your hero and you're disappointed. He's a really freaking good doc. He's like one of the guys that I put up and say, doing this whole podcast, what are we, almost at 8 years now, right? Well, we're getting really close. Doing this podcast, one of those guys that really points to, I look at him and so many people. I've met so many freaking awesome people and made so many great friends. Riz, you're one of them, right?
I know.
Through doing this stuff. Yes. It's awesome. Very few, the ratio of jerks to good people is so much lower meeting people through the podcast versus walking around in public.
It really is. I thank you again for when I get a text and it says Brian B. I Prevail on it. He texts me to ask me Lions questions. It's not me being a fanboy over him.
Right.
That blows my mind. So thank you, Brian. I know you do watch. Thanks, buddy. And please come to Grand Rapids again soon.
We got to get him on and do some gasoline. They've got a lot of great music. That one is my song. It's on my workout thing, and it's been for I switch my workout mix all the time. It's been there since it came out. That song is it's a banger.
Bow Down is actually my daughter's warm up song when she's warming up for basketball.
That's a great song. Great song. All right,
there you go.
Talking music.
We've kept these people for way too long, Chris. It's time to call it a night.
They like it. They like learning about it.
I know they like it, but
they like learning about it. You got to go. Let's be honest. I do too. I got a lot of shit.
I'll pay.
I'm not seeing the Slack chat, Riz. All right. Remember, don't forget about us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Great way to support the show, and you get access to the Slack. With a $5 commitment per month on the Patreon, you will get the ultimate deliciousness in intelligent chat. It is the very, very best. Also, follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. Please give us a call there, a follow there. We appreciate that. And everyone that has jumped in there lately, there's been a lot of you that have hopped in. Thank you so much. Don't forget to do at Jeff Risdon as well. He's a decent follow. He knows a thing or two every now and then. He's one of those guys. You just got to have him on the list because it's Lions, I guess. Whatever. All right. Give us a call via Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast. Did you hear the end when of the show last time with Sandman when you watched, or did you bounce out at the last part? Because
I did bounce out.
I'm gonna get it because it was one of the funniest moments in ages. I have to play that.
I know it made the rounds in the Slack. I still haven't revisited it.
It's hilarious. All right. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. And give us a call on the Lions line, or call us the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. We love your calls. We'll take your messages. We'll put them on the air. We'll do our thing. Don't forget, next week, no show on Wednesday. Chris has got stupid travel and work and stuff commitments.
We won't have a live show, but we will have content for you. It just won't be directly interactive.
Yep. Subscribe so you get access to that. Watch us on Twitter. That's the other place to see when this stuff's coming out. But absolutely subscribe and hit the bell so you know when that stuff comes out. Because when free agency hits, we're going to be going out like fire on the kind of produced videos versus the live videos. All right. Make sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast. Why, Riz? Why would you subscribe to the podcast?
So we can come into your ear holes automatically.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, because we are your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Thank you all for tuning in. We love you.